Good afternoon, Year 6. This is your English lesson. So this term, we are going to be looking at newspaper reports. And we're going to start today by exploring a newspaper report. And to be successful, you will list the features of a newspaper. You're going to identify the orientation, the headline, the byline, and direct quotes. And you will need to justify why these features are needed in a newspaper report. But first, let's start with our spelling starter. So here are a couple of sentences that I have written, but I have made some silly spelling mistakes. Now, these are words that we looked at last term. So what I would like you to do is copy it out as a message to myself or Miss Thomason or on a piece of paper, and then you can take a picture. So copy out the sentences correcting the spelling mistakes, and then you can send them over to us. So pause the page and you can do that. Okay, let's carry on. So here is a picture of some examples of newspapers. It would be really good if you have newspapers at home that you can have a look through them and see if you can identify some of the things that we speak about today. You might also want to have a look online to see if there are any children's newspaper articles that you can read as well. So Newsround would be a good place to start. This is the text that we're going to use as our model. It's from the New York Times, and the headline at the top of the page there is "The Unsinkable Ship Sinks on Maiden Voyage." So we've got the repetition of sink in unsinkable and in sinks. And we've got a picture here of the ship. And then we have here the byline by L. Thomason. I wonder who wrote this. And then we have a picture here of the captain, Edward Smith. And this is called a caption. It tells us what the picture is of. A newspaper report starts with an orientation. An orientation tells you what the story is about, when it happened, where it happened. Okay, so the maiden voyage of the white ship starliner Titanic, the largest ship ever launched, has ended in disaster. On the 15th of April, after hitting an iceberg, the Titanic sunk in the North Atlantic Ocean, killing over 1,000 of its passengers. The Titanic started her trip from Southampton to New York on Wednesday. Late on Sunday night, she struck an iceberg off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. Many distress signals were sent out and luckily were received by nearby vessels. The revolutionary vessel initially struck the iceberg at 12:20 a.m. on the 15th of April. After a chaotic 2 hours, the entire ship plunged into the ice-cold water, leaving 1,000 passengers fighting for their lives in the treacherous water. Captain Smith reported the ship was travelling faster than originally planned to make it to New York in record-breaking time. The night was clear and calm, which experts have commented are classic signs of icebergs. The crew on watch had no binoculars. They didn't see the iceberg until it was too late. The ship was designed by a famous architect, Thomas Andrews, and was considered unsinkable, which meant that they did not have enough lifeboats for every passenger on board. This led to 1,503 people in total losing their lives on this horrific night. A survivor of the tragedy explained, "Women and children were shoved into the lifeboats. I didn't know it at the time, but this would be the last time I saw my husband." There are many people considered to be to blame for this unexpected catastrophe. The three main culprits at the moment include Captain Smith, who had ignored many warnings about the icebergs, Bruce Ismay, who insisted that the ship steam ahead at full speed, and the ship's architect, Thomas Andrews. Over the last few days, many agencies have investigated this matter and are yet to make a conclusive decision. What did you notice about that newspaper report? What tense is it written in? Did it follow in chronological order? These are questions you can be thinking about to see if it is similar in all of the newspaper articles, and if it is, then it is a key feature. Did you notice that at the end, it sums up the text and talks about what is happening now or what is going to happen in the future. So this is the reorientation. So we have the orientation at the beginning that tells us what the text is going to be about, when it happened, and then the reorientation sums it up and tells us what is happening moving forward. So what are the key features of a newspaper? So we have the headline, the title, the bit at the top of the newspaper. The byline, this is who it is written by and when. It will often have the name and the date next to it. The orientation, which I've already spoken about. Pictures and captions. Now these aren't drawings, these are photos, because normally it is true, it is real life, so there will be a photo from the time. An expert or eyewitness quote, so somebody that was there at the time, their thoughts on what had happened, and then the reorientation at the end. So could you please create a mind map of those things there? Okay, I'm going to pop up the picture here just to remind you of the text, and we can see what the different things are. Okay, so we have the unsinkable ship sinks on maiden voyage. This is the headline. Well done. The New York Times is the name of the newspaper. This bit here by L. Thomason, can you remember what that is? It's the byline. It tells us who wrote the story. Well done, the report. Then we have a photo or photos from the event. And here we have a caption that tells us about the photo. What's this bit at the beginning? That's correct, it's the orientation. The maiden voyage of the White Star Liner Titanic, the largest ship ever launched, has ended in disaster. That tells us what has happened. On the 15th of April, when, after hitting an iceberg, the Titanic sunk in the North Atlantic Ocean. That tells us where it happened as well. In the next paragraph, I have underlined some words: started, struck, were sent, and were received. What is this telling us about the tense it is written in? That's correct, it's written in past tense because the event has already happened. And here I have highlighted the part that says women and children were shoved into the lifeboats. I didn't know it at the time, but this would be the last time I saw my husband. What is this? That's correct, it's a quote. It is something that has been said by someone that was there at the time. And then finally, we have the reorientation, the summing up that's going to tell us what is happening now in the present time or what will be happening in the future. Okay, so over to you. You are going to use either some newspaper articles that you have at home yourself or some of the examples on the next few pages. And I would like you to copy out this table and you are going to locate the title of the article and the byline. You're going to think about the purpose. Why was it written? Was it written to inform or was it written to entertain? You're going to write down the dates or any key events in the article, and then you're going to find the eyewitness and the quote that is in the text. Okay, so there's a few boxes there. And for an extra challenge, you're going to think about, is a newspaper fiction or non-fiction? Now that might sound like I am giving you a very tricky question or a very easy question. So am I tricking you or not? Have a think about that and send your response to myself and or Ms. Thomason about whether you think newspaper articles or newspaper reports are fiction or non-fiction. Can they be both? Okay, so here is an example. So you might want to pause the screen there. And I'm going to slowly roll it down. Okay, so that's your first example. Here we have two examples. your next example, so remember to pause the screen. And one more example. I'll show you the pictures there. And I have just written up the text because I know it wasn't very clear. Okay, so complete that table for me and send it over to myself and Miss Thomason. We look forward to hearing your thoughts on that key question back there. Go back to it. Is a newspaper fiction or non-fiction? Take care, bye for now.